Hey everyone, and welcome to this video featuring all that's new on the OC Streetcar for the month of July. So let's take a look at all that's new here on Tiger Railfan. Before we get into it, let's take a look at the route that we're going to be following. We're going to be starting on the western end here at the Harbor Transit Center, heading east all the way towards downtown Santa Ana. So let's take a look at the first stop along the line at Harbor and Westminster. You can see the intersection of Harbor and Westminster just in the distance, and the station is going to be located just slightly to the north, which is right here. Of course, it's a really busy street and not really pedestrian friendly, unfortunately, but upon a closer look, we can see that it has a good amount of amenities for a streetcar station. It's got shade, and it actually has a small parking lot on its right-hand side. Unfortunately, there is no major noticeable changes since last month's episode, so I'm not going to fully cross and head over in that direction, but we can take a look at some of the things that they did last time, and that includes putting these new stickers on that showcase the rules of the streetcar, including things like no weapons, smoking, or eating or drinking on board the trains. This does sound familiar to LA Metro. Unfortunately, it is still vandalized in this part of the station. There are signs of it everywhere, unfortunately, and it really shows the importance of construction security and the lack of it here at the OC Streetcar. But I mean, you can't blame them too much because it's not really something as heavy as a light rail project where they can afford to block off major right-of-ways that the light rail travels on. Now, talking about connections here, the station is named the Harbor Transit Center for a reason. There are several bus routes here, including the one you see just in the distance, the Route 43, which heads north and south along Harbor Boulevard, serving popular destinations such as Costa Mesa, the Fullerton Transportation Center, and Disneyland. There's also two rapid buses that depart from this area. That is the 543 and 560, both of which run limited stops, with the 543 running north and south and the 560 running east and west. In just a second, we're going to get a better look at the right-of-way that the streetcar travels on just past here, and one of only a few bridges. So there is one last look at the OC Streetcar stop, which does have a railroad crossing for those to cross to the center platform. Now, heading towards the intersection of Harbor and Westminster, we can really see that there is not much around here, unfortunately. But hopefully those bus routes are enough to provide good connections to increase ridership in the area. But now, let's go ahead, turn left, across the street, and take a look at what we can see. We've just crossed the street onto the south side of Westminster Boulevard. You can see another one of the buses connecting here, which is the Route 60, the local variant of Route 560. This one also runs east and west along Westminster Boulevard. Just straight ahead, we can now see the right-of-way of the OC Streetcar, and we can see that it actually lifts up above the road here instead of being a railroad crossing interchange, which I think is an amazing thing here, especially as Westminster Boulevard is very busy. But unfortunately, this is the only separated right-of-way that is utilizing a bridge over any intersection, unfortunately. All the other ones are going to be using simple railroad crossings, or once we get east of Rate Street, it's going to be all up to the traffic signals. We can also see some transit-oriented development on the right-hand side, and this apartment structure actually stretches quite a while, so it's good to see that there's already some transit-oriented development in here, even though it may not have been here specifically for the transit, maybe just for the interchange. But there are nice bus routes here anyways, including the OC Bus Rapid. With that, let's head towards the next stop along the line at Fairview Station, and that's where we're at right now, which is going to be one stop east of where we were just at, which was the Harbor Transit Center. So we can see the tracks just ahead of us for the OC Streetcar at a railroad crossing interchange, and we can see that it's still on its own right-of-way here at Fairview Street Station, and we can see one of its connecting buses, the Route 47, which directly stops here. Now, it really doesn't see that much use, especially at this bus stop in particular, but once the OC Streetcar station opens, it'll see much more use, I presume. But let's go ahead and take a look here at the streetcar station. It looks pretty much the same as the one we just looked at the Harbor Transit Center, and that's a trend you'll notice for the entire episode for the most part, with the exception of some are side platforms and some are completely separated side platforms. We'll get a look at that, especially as we get towards downtown Santa Ana, where that will become more common. Just in the distance, you can see the river crossing over the Santa Ana River, and it actually goes around one of the older railway right-of-ways here, which has a pretty cool truss bridge, and I'm glad that they still left it there for us to see today. So you really have an old next to the new bridge right there. Looking to our left-hand side, Facing east towards Santa Ana, we can see that right-of-way simply continues, and there are some more railroad crossings along the way. At the smaller streets, it continues to cross. There is a school, though, that this station serves and that it could receive ridership from, and that's the Lydia Romero Cruz Academy, located just to the left of the tracks here. But of course, I assume that ridership would be limited to weekdays and during school dismissal and arrival times. There is an office for the Santa Ana Unified School District on the right-hand side, but of course that won't attract too many people. Of course, we can also see that wheelchair accessible sign here at the OC streetcar stop, and this is going to be located at all of them, which signifies that they are all wheelchair accessible. Pretty simple enough for these smaller stops, as all it needs is a short ramp to reach the street level. Also, once we zoom in, it might be a little bit difficult to see, but the ticket vending machine is located just behind that wooded wall. So hopefully that will come down one day, but of course the stations have remained in a similar state for quite a while. So I am eager to see some change around these new stops. Of course, in order to access the station, you do need to cross the right-of-way here, and there are railroad crossing signals specifically for pedestrians as well. There's one located right in front of the platform too whenever you walk out, where you decide if you need to head left or right. There are some other nearby bus connections, but they are not directly located on the street here. For that, you would need to walk slightly further, about a quarter mile, to First Street, where you can access Route 64, an east-west route that heads towards Santa Ana and Westminster. And again, when we talk about transit-oriented development and density in the area, there is not much around here. There is another office or maybe school, actually specifically a charter school here. But with that, we're going to continue towards the next stop along the line in the eastbound direction, which is going to be Raitt Street Station. This is also notable because it's home to the maintenance facility for the OC streetcar, so we can see if anything is new in terms of vehicle delivery. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's new over at Raitt Street Station, one stop east. Now welcome to the intersection of Raitt Street and First Street. The station is going to be located 3 blocks north of this intersection, and it may sound like quite a lot, but it is only actually about a few minutes walk, specifically about 3 to 4 minutes. But we are going to go ahead and skip to the part where we can see the station at the intersection of Raitt Street and Santa Ana. In addition to the connections available at First Street, there is also a direct bus connection to the circular routes 150A and Route 151, both of which stop right next to the station, providing convenient access for transfers. Fun fact, you're also able to scan the bus schedules on the bus stop itself, as well as find real-time information about its arrival. Now we can see the streetcar tracks just ahead with the railroad crossing on the far left-hand side that we just saw. It left frame, but it'll be back in a second. You can see the Route 150A bus stop on the right-hand side and the intersection just ahead, which is where the streetcar stop is going to be. Also, unfortunately, the transit-oriented development here is pretty much lacking. It's all single-family homes here and small industrial businesses. So this station is actually one that I think is going to have one of the least amounts of ridership on the system. But going a little closer, we're able to see those new light posts that have been put up all around the OC streetcar route. These were primarily placed in downtown Santa Ana, but have recently spread along the OC streetcar line at its stations and surrounding areas. I think it's a really cool touch to the stations, but let me know what you think in the description down below. And here we are, just to the left of the intersection is the OC streetcar station, located on the right-of-way side of the street. And what I mean by that is right after the trains pass the station, heading to the right, they're going to be heading onto a shared space with cars, trucks, and other vehicles. So this is the last railroad crossing you'll see before heading eastbound. Looking directly up, we're able to see some of the same things that have been completed since last time we were here, which is of course that new red emergency telephone box. And what we're here really to see is the maintenance facility. Just in the distance, we can see that there is some active construction being done behind that concrete wall there. I'm not sure if it's part of the recycling plant here or if there's construction being done at the maintenance facility. But of course, what I'm here to see is those vehicles. If you look closely, you can see there are now 3 OC streetcars parked on the side of the track. So that means they have at least 3 vehicles now. Previously there were 2, so this is a really big new development since last episode. I'll show some footage here of what it was looking like when I was walking past those brand new OC streetcar vehicles. Honestly, the liveries look great, and I'm super happy with how they came out in person. And hopefully we see these vehicles testing sooner rather than later. But now we're looking down Santa Ana Boulevard, and we can see that the catenary is made in such a way that it doesn't really disrupt the street here. And what I mean by that is the poles for the catenary are off to the side, hidden by the trees, and the actual wires that connect to the train and provide it power are really discreet, which I'm happy to see. So it's good to see that actions were being made in order to prevent the visual pollution of the OC streetcar at this Santa Ana Boulevard Street area, since obviously there are houses on either side, and I'm sure they would care about how their neighborhood looked with a streetcar coming through it. But let's go ahead to the next stop along the line, which is going to be at Bristol Street. We can see that the OC streetcar tracks are right here still on Santa Ana Boulevard, and there's actually an elementary school right here as well. So maybe you'll see, just like in foreign countries, elementary school kids using the train, but honestly, I doubt it. The station is located just a bit to the right, but the street actually looks really nice here, and it really complements the neighborhood. There's a new plant medium in the middle, and you can see the streetcar tracks blend in with the street very well. And in my opinion, the concrete track beds actually add some character to the roadway. But let's go ahead and get to the actual streetcar stop itself, which is what we're here to look at, and that's going to be located just ahead to the left. You can also see that the density around here is really not good either, despite being close to a major street like Bristol Street. You can see there's still single-family homes just on our right-hand side, along with a variety of smaller individual businesses that wouldn't attract that much ridership. But here we are at the Bristol Street station. This is our first instance of a split platform on the route so far. And of course, we can see those light posts still up and around the OC streetcar route. Personally, of course, I really enjoy them. Well, at least the new development is that there's a bunch of temporary cones there by those bollards. So at least we have something new in terms of that. But as we walk along here, we can see that it honestly is the same as last month's video, which was actually filmed about a month and a half ago, as this video is releasing in late July of 2025. You can see that they're still wrapping around those bench seats, and there are those new signs that showcase the rules of the streetcar, along with, of course, the speakers, the lights, and the security cameras. You can also see the electrical screens that indicate when the next train will be arriving, and you can also see right here through this crevice the new ticket vending machines. This will open hopefully soon, and I can't wait to see what those new ticket vending machines will look like. And of course, the branding. I'm curious to see how they're going to brand everything here. Of course, you can see at the second entrance there is some more signage showcasing the rules of the streetcar. And just in front of us is Bristol Street, where we can see one of the articulated buses from Okta coming by on the Route 57, which runs north and south along Bristol Street, which will provide a convenient access for the OC streetcar. Now, looking across Santa Ana Boulevard, we're able to see the other platform. I'm not going to bore you with all of the details on that one, because it is essentially a replica just mirrored from the other streetcar station that we just looked at. So with that, let's go ahead and walk down towards Bristol Street here, so we can explore more about the area and the connections available here at the Bristol Street OC streetcar stop. So let's take a look. Of course, I enjoy how pro-bike friendly this area is. That bike lane continues all throughout Santa Ana Boulevard. And as we turn right, we can see that the sidewalk is actually separated from the street by this wonderful planter area, which I really enjoy. This makes it safer for pedestrians, and it allows drivers to maintain a higher level of speed, which I'm sure everyone wants to do, without having to worry about pedestrians jumping out into the road or anything like that. But with that, let's head towards the next stop along the line, which is going to be at Flower Street. Now we're in downtown Santa Ana. It's also worth noting that we have just passed the halfway point of the OC streetcar, which consists of course, 10 stations, and we're now on the 6th one, which is Flower Street Station. And first of all, we can see that Route 151, that circular route, comes back around and connects to this station as well, just how it did at Great Street Station. So that makes a full loop around. Going further ahead towards the actual intersection here at Santa Ana and Flower, we can see more of what's happening at the OC streetcar stop. We can see that not only are the stations side platformed, they are also separated by the intersection. So it's especially important that you know which direction you're going, and as a result, which platform you need to head to, since you don't want to miss a streetcar just because you're on the wrong platform. But of course, that bike lane continues all the way down Santa Ana Boulevard there, and it's truly a wide bike lane too, and it's a proper one because it's separated by this plant median in the middle. It does look kind of sad though, so hopefully we get some new plant life there. But you can see, let's go ahead and cross towards that OC streetcar stop, which is going to be heading westbound. So that's the one we're going to be looking at the Flower Street Station. And here we are. It's accessible, of course, by a short ramp, and it actually separates the bike lane from the rest of the road, which I think is a really awesome feature, enabling those who bike more security when going through the station, but it also presents a new problem of pedestrian cross traffic, as there is an entrance on both ends of the station. But I think this is awesome to see, as I'm sure people would just jaywalk across the bike lane in order to reach the station, especially if they're about to miss a train. But looking at the station specifically, those benches are still wrapped up. Of course, it's in the same state of progress as the other ones, unfortunately. There are those rules of the streetcar sign stickers type things that are on the left-hand posts right there. And of course, the lights are working, I believe, especially that one on the right, that pole-like light. There's another ramp that heads down this way and has an intersection that crosses over the bike lane. And surprise, surprise, just past the station, you can see another one of those brand new light posts that have been put up around the OC streetcar. Now that we're in downtown Santa Ana, we'll be able to see some of the older light posts as well. And it does quite interest me how they've decided to continue the trend of putting these light posts in downtown Santa Ana and bringing them outside towards other parts of the OC streetcar line. As you can see, the bike lane also continues, and it's super wide. And you can see we're truly entering downtown Santa Ana here, in a sense that we have a lot more density, skyscrapers, and other larger buildings, most of which are actually governmental. And now, as we approach the next intersection, I'd like to welcome you to the Ross Street Station area. And the unique thing about this station is that there are two track right-of-ways actually split here. One of them is going left and one of them is going right. The westbound tracks are going to be on the left-hand side and the eastbound are on the right. If you can see just through those trees there, you can see the eastbound station for the OC streetcar just through Sacker Park, which is the park that's separating these two streets. In order to see the westbound Ross Street platform, which is what we're going to be looking at here, we're just going to continue walking around for about one more block until we reach the intersection of Ross Street and Santa Ana. But of course, right here, you can already see the large amount of density around here as well. And that's going to be a theme throughout the rest of the video. And that's why the streetcar stops on the eastern end of the line are so much closer together than the ones on the western end. So this is where the bulk of the ridership is going to come from. And the main purpose and use of the OC streetcar is likely to get people from the area in downtown out west to where we started the video at the Harbor Transit Center. Although this is a really pleasant area to be, and downtown Santa Ana is honestly really nice. So it's awesome to see that they're getting a streetcar, and there is a lot of pedestrians around as well. You'll see that throughout the rest of the video though, not really particularly in this spot, but that is a good sign of potential ridership to come. But just ahead is, holy cow, this is the first active construction work we've seen being done in so many months of reporting on construction updates. I hope you could see the excitement behind me voiceovering the video, but of course this is awesome to see. And we can see that it looks like they are tightening the electrical overhead wires, and it's awesome to see that they're doing that as well, because that is a really big issue, especially in the beginning of the video, where, as I've reported in previous construction updates, the wires have been sagging for quite some time, and that is going to prevent them from testing anything in terms of putting the OC streetcar vehicles on the route. There is one lane closed here on Santa Ana Boulevard. The remaining lane is the one that's shared with the track, but of course there is really no traffic problems at all here on this Friday afternoon. But of course it's super pleasant to see that work is being done here, and that the constant delays from the OC streetcar are not for nothing, hopefully. But now back to looking for the Ross Street station. It's going to be located at this intersection right here, located just ahead. Another thing I like about the area just around the station here is that we have bike lanes going on both of the streets here that intersect. Ross Street and Santa Ana Street both have bike lanes, and they're pretty well protected, as you can see here, and they're very well labeled with the brand new repaving of both of these streets in the area. You can see there how it continues down to Ross Street. Of course, we have large amounts of density here as well, and it appears like a bike lane continues down 5th Street as well. So here in downtown Santa Ana now, we're truly in the downtown area where you can see a lot of accessibility for those using bikes. And of course, we have the brand new OC streetcar stop, which is going to be located just across the street here. Of course, this is only for eastbound traffic though. Some notable things nearby worth noting: a government office for the Recorder Department of Orange County. That's the theme throughout all of the stations. You'll see is varieties of offices for all sorts of agencies for the Orange County. Of course, the sidewalk here looks like it's been newly redone, of course, and here is the Ross station itself. One of my favorite things about this is how the bike lane actually raises to the sidewalk level here, and it makes it known that pedestrians have priority when accessing the station. And additionally, it makes it easy for there to be 2 entrances and exits. Both obviously are wheelchair accessible. So there is not even a ramp here at this station. And of course, it does look like that there is some shade provided as well through that small roof column structure, which is awesome to see. I was doubtful of that, especially as it really looks like a small shade shelter, and shade is really important, especially here in Southern California. Of course, we have a bunch of new public art here as well. I was talking about this more in depth in last month's construction update, but continuing along this way, we can see that the Santa Ana Boulevard here is going to be a one-way road, and this is including bikes. So you can't be riding eastbound on Santa Ana Boulevard here. But of course, there are other options, like that 5th Street bike lane that we saw. But now let's take a look just ahead towards the next stop along the line, which is going to be located by the Old Orange County Historic Courthouse, which is just over there on the left-hand side. But as we get closer here, let's take a look at some of the features of the roadway here and its new configuration. It's got, of course, that really wide bike lane and a very wide sidewalk as well, with trees inside of it. We can also see that there are 2 lanes of traffic, with one of them being shared with the OC Streetcar. Honestly, at times I do wish that they did separate the traffic between vehicles and the OC Streetcar, so that way it could run significantly faster and won't have a risk of being slowed down due to a heavy amount of road traffic. But of course, as we further enter downtown Santa Ana, we're going to enter the Old Orange County Courthouse, which there appears to be an event going on here at the moment, possibly a wedding, and this is absolutely a beautiful and historic place. So great choice for those people. But on the right hand side, we can see that the bike lane was so wide that it's actually being used for parking for all of these vehicles here. And one of them catches my eye here. It's a news station, so maybe it's something significant going on here, but there is a lot of attention at the Old Orange County Courthouse right now on July 25th, 2025, when this video was filmed. And just behind that oak tree is our Sycamore Street station, which services the Old Orange County Courthouse. There's also a station located 2 blocks south at 5th Street for eastbound traffic. As the station says here, this station is for those heading towards Garden Grove or in the westbound direction. But it's a similar side platform that we saw earlier, and it's essentially a replica of the Ross Street station, with the exception of the bike lane is slightly lower, meaning you do need to go down a small ramp, and the fact that there is not an entrance/exit on the right side, which I do think is a missed opportunity, especially for those heading to the Old Orange County Courthouse, which probably drives quite a bit of people at times. And just to our left, there is another news van right here, so there's definitely something large happening, but I'm not entirely sure what it is, so if you do, feel free to let me know in the description down below. But also at this point in the video, if you're enjoying it so far, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more. I post monthly construction updates for all sorts of projects, including the OC Streetcar, as well as other projects like the LAX Automated People Mover and the D-Line subway extension on the LA Metro D-Line. So feel free to stay tuned for those videos and all sorts of new ones as well. We'll also be here on the first day of the opening of the OC Streetcar, as well as the A-Line extension. So be sure to stay tuned for all of those videos. But as we continue along here, we're going to reach the next stop along the line that we haven't really featured in previous episodes, and that is French Street. This is going to be the last stop before the Santa Ana Transportation Center or the Metrolink and Amtrak station. But there are some notable bus connections just to our left here at the intersection of Civic Center and Main. There is some missed opportunities here though, especially for those who are coming from Garden Grove, because you have to walk the 1 block west to our left, in addition to the 2 blocks that the alignment is further south. But all sorts of bus routes connect here, including the routes 83, 553, 53, and 862, all of which stop at the intersection of Civic Center and Main. But let's go ahead and skip a little further down to get to the next stop along the line on the OC Streetcar, which is again French Street. And here we are. This is the westbound platform for the French Street station. And there is actually some good transit-oriented development here in terms of apartment structures and buildings. So hopefully the station sees a good amount of ridership as well. But this could also be just because we're nearing the Santa Ana train station and downtown area. But another thing I like about this is how there are 2 entrances and exits again. And the bike lane is actually so wide here as well, but I'm glad that they added those proper crosswalk markings to ensure that bikers know that people are going to be walking there. And here is an overall look at that French Street platform. It's really in a similar state as everything else, and everything is really still the same, including the still covered seats, as well as those stickers as well that showcase the rules of the streetcar. And of course, here is that same ramp that heads down towards the second exit at French Street, where you can cross the street here. It looks like, unfortunately, you do need to wait until the traffic signal allows you to cross here, so that's worth noting, and I'm sure that might make some people miss their train if they don't jaywalk here, which I highly would discourage whenever it's busy. Anyways, now looking down to our left, we can see that there are some multi-family homes, it appears here, so that is some good density around the area as well, and hopefully that'll generate some additional ridership as well. But looking to our right, there really isn't much besides that apartment complex on our right hand side, so hopefully that's enough to stimulate enough ridership at the station. But now let's go ahead to the next and final stop along the line, the Santa Ana train station, which is going to be, in my opinion, one of the busiest stations along the OC streetcar because of its connections to both Metrolink and Amtrak, as well as several other OC bus, rapid, and local routes as well. Looking to both our left and our right, we can see that there is also plenty of transit-oriented development here, but I'm sure it's transit-oriented towards Metrolink and Amtrak, which the station is obviously just to our left-hand side. But this will in turn also generate ridership for the OC streetcar, which is just to our right. A few blocks past here, they join back together, both of the directions of travel. So that way, the lines join and end at a consolidated platform. So there is no more worrying about being in the wrong platform and your correct platform being 2 blocks away, as it was for the downtown station. But now let's get a look at our last streetcar stop for today's video at the Santa Ana station. It's going to be located just outside of the parking lot for the train station, which is honestly not that far of a walk from the bus bays, and it's not that far from the actual station as well. There's also some important bus connections that stop at the intersection we're currently walking at, and that includes the Express 83, as well as the 862, and other bus routes, but they stop at the station's temporary bus bays, which I'll give you a look at in just a second. But here we're able to walk across the tracks for the OC streetcar, and unfortunately there are not any new updates at all here. The signals are still off, but I guess there are some updates, and that is the 2 planks that are located on the bottom left hand side of the screen that are now out of view. But let's go ahead and get a closer look at the station and see if anything smaller maybe has been done since the last episode and last time we've been here. There is also a new dedicated parking lot for the OC streetcar stop here, which is unique when comparing to other OC streetcar stops. But now let's go ahead and take a quick walk along Santiago Street, where we can see there are some flowers blossoming here. Looks like jasmine to me, but that's a cool touch to the area as well. You can see there's also a railroad crossing there at a secondary entrance to the station, which I think is awesome for those who are parking and riding the OC streetcar. But I do worry that there aren't that many people doing that. I feel like the only people who are riding from the station would be those who live locally in those apartment structures, or those who are transferring from Metrolink or Amtrak. But here we have our actual station building, and Santa Ana Regional Transportation Center is abbreviated here as SARTC, which I feel like would confuse a lot of people. So hopefully there are announcements that also accompany that, and hopefully they spell out the whole thing so that way people aren't confused by what SARTC means. The tracks do physically end right here, and there is no room for vehicle storage past here, but I feel like there wouldn't be too much of a reason for that unless there was a major disruption. Now the bus bays are located just ahead, and you can actually see one of the rapid routes 560 waiting for its departure time, heading westbound to Golden West. And now here's another angle of that OC streetcar station, which of course is wheelchair accessible through that ramp that heads down. Also here we have one of the arriving buses, the 59, which is heading south to UC Irvine. So there are plenty of bus connections here as well, which would also help its argument for being one of the busiest OC streetcar stops along the line. And now here's a better look at the dedicated parking lot for the OC streetcar. I honestly have mixed feelings of it on the left-hand side because I feel like more travelers would park and ride for Metrolink and Amtrak. And when looking at the Metrolink and Amtrak parking lot, we can see that it's honestly full. So I feel like it would be better to have a consolidated parking lot. That way the space could be adequately used. But the entrance to the station was absolutely stunning, as you just saw there. It has beautiful architecture and honestly kind of resembles Union Station in downtown LA a little bit. And the addition of the OC Streetcar here is really going to turn it into a Union Station-like terminal, because it now has another rail transfer option besides, of course, Amtrak and Metrolink. So now, let's go ahead and wrap up today's video. This is going to be an amazing project here with lots of transit-oriented development, at least in the downtown areas, and it's hopefully going to have a good amount of ridership, but of course, only time will tell. Until next time, hopefully we'll see some new things happening on the OC Streetcar. Thanks for watching, and have an amazing rest of your day or night.